Hello, it's me, Catherine, and I'll be talking about the basics of using a drawing tablet with the computer. So, the main reason why I'd like to talk about using this is because I know for sure for first timers it's going to be a bit of a struggle, mainly because you're going to be getting used to something kind of new, hand-eye coordination thing. And it also does have a different kind of option compared to the mouse. So the mouse is much more consistent, but the tablet itself is not going to have that same kind of effect. And another thing I'd also like to bring up is going to be the size of the tablet itself. So the size of the tablet will depend on the difficulty as well, because um, it's not going to be 100% your workspace. And what I mean by that is this white portion in front of us, the sheet itself, is going to be our workspace. But as you can see, as I circle around it, it still go past it, even though I haven't even hit like the edge of my tablet. So if I were to go off, you can see that it basically downsizes our monitor size onto the tablet, so you can utilize the tablet without having to always reach out for the mouse. So that way it's not trapped in this specific area. So you can still select it while outside of the work area. That is something that you may also find kind of useful, because it does speed up the process a little more than just going back and forth, especially because it's a lot faster and easier to track with a tablet. You can even have a finger setting, which I think I turned off the finger setting on this, so it's not going to do that right now. But if you're going to be using the setting where you're allowed to use your own hands, you may want to be careful with that while drawing, mainly because it might sense your hands instead of the pen itself, and that may be why I haven't switched it on. Okay, so I will now show you or demonstrate the differences between a mouse and a pen on the computer. So for the mouse, let me bring it up to 10 so you can see. It's going to be a little more consistent, or pretty much it's all consistent with the movement, with the lines. The lines will always just be the way how it is, depending on your size. So that's going to be our mouse. It's also a little wonky on its tracking. Well, for me, it kind of is. Versus the tablet. The tablet are going to always have differentiations with the minimum and the maximum. So your maximum is going to be the selected size over here, whereas your minimum is just basically how light you touch the tablet with your pen. So this is going to be our tablet, and then it's going to be our light side. So as you can see, the light side is going to be very, very thin, very small, whereas the heavier side of the pressure point is going to come out a lot thicker than that. And you can also utilize this in between drawing your lines and such. So even if it's going light, you can always add pressure and it'll climb up to be thicker as long as you use or utilize the pressure point on the tablet. All right. So that's one good tip about how to utilize, or a good way to show how you can use your different sizes with the tablet. It's actually very good when it comes to adding more depth to your lines, more volume to your lines. So that way it's able to make the character pop out a little more, or the object a little more, and it's going to look a little more natural. All right. So as you can see over here, I tried to make different sizes for the mouse, so I have different emphasis on different lines, but it ended up kind of a bit wonkier. Versus where the tablet itself, you don't really have to do too much changes on the lines, mainly because it does it to itself whenever you change your pressure. So as you can see where I circled, this area is gonna be heavier, mainly because that's where I concentrated a lot of my pressure on, versus where when I lifted up my pen, it obviously turned up lighter. So this became smaller. So this would be a nice way to get a good feel of drawing on a computer, like as if it were drawing on with a pencil and paper. Yeah. So this would be the closest way to sketching on pencil and paper. And then I will show you an example that I did. One will be with tablet and the other one will be on mouse. They did them at a relatively close time together. So not much time differentiation, but as you can see, the tablet definitely gave it a much different look versus the mouse. And as you can tell, the tablet's lines are a lot softer. It's a little more flexible. So that way, details like the hair itself doesn't look too stiff. As you can see that the lines become harsher at the more concentrated areas where it's not completely closed, but when it comes towards the end, it tends to become a little softer. So that way it gives it more depth. It doesn't look as flattening. Versus where the mouse, the line is always going to be consistent. It looks a little harsher and it's a little heavier versus what the tablet looks like. Yeah. So you can see here. Another thing about the mouse versus the tablet would also be the tracking of it. So the tracking on a tablet may seem a little strange at first, but once you get used to it, it does feel like as if you are drawing on pencil and paper. So that way it doesn't feel like it's completely unfamiliar. There we go. Oop. And that way it actually looks like what you would do on pencil and paper. So the tracking on this, it's pretty good. As you can see, I finished off the drawing or the base of a sketch pretty quickly. Didn't need too much time on that, or not too much movement, not too much focus on tracking. Accuracy is fairly well, versus where the mouse, it's a little more difficult, mainly because tracking may be kind of sensitive. I'll even put my tracking at the lowest setting for my mouse. And even then, you still have to be careful. There we go. Alright. Okay. That doesn't look too good. So, as you can see, it's a bit of a struggle with the tracking. And the lines don't have that same inconsistency or a controlled inconsistency for the volume. It's always going to be consistent. So smaller details are also going to be a little harder to draw with a mouse, obviously. And so that shows a difference between the mouse and the tablet, as you can see. Even though I still took more time on the mouse, the tablet did make it a little easier, so I made it draw faster. So it was a lot faster to use. And it's also much easier to use when it comes to the animation, mainly because the animation portions, they tend to be mostly erase and redraw. So for sure, this will definitely benefit people who want to use it for frame by frame animation. All right, thank you.